All right, everybody. I'm sort of back. I actually don't know what's going on with the YouTube stream. It's very weird. I'm monitoring on YouTube. I see myself, I see the chat. So that's good. It seems that that at least is working. But for whatever reason, when I'm trying to deal with the settings, it takes me to some other offline stream. It's very, very weird. So I know that there's people in the chat saying everything's fine, and that's great. It's great that it seems that way, but I can assure you that not everything is fine as I try to get some live video here of this stream, checking whether now this has live video in the room. Not yet. Okay, so we are not yet live in the room. Yeah, there's something very strange going on. And it's something about the connection between Restream and YouTube that is not working. There do seem to be some elements in the system. I don't even know if I can see super chats. Now people are saying Facebook is not live. Well, I don't know about that. What I'll do is I'll just shut off Facebook and restart it. It looked like it was live. We're working out all of the kinks. But yeah, not too much. I think this is going to have to probably be it for now. My hair is fine. Yeah, people worried about my hair. That's no big deal. Let's see. Okay. Well, I think that things are good enough. Facebook is on but out of sync. Well, just refresh that. But we're fully back on all platforms now, and I think that this is probably as far as it'll go. Oh, let's see. A super chat came in. I see it in the chat from Timmy Lunsford, but I'm not seeing it in my control panel where it tells me where the super chats came in. I suspect that Sam Cedar is doing something very ugly here in order to prevent me from getting to those million subscribers. I think that that's very, very reasonable. Let me just refresh and then we'll see what we've got. But no, it does seem as though I'm able to see super chats and things are okay. The vegan villainess sent a $2 super chat in order for me to be able to get a new computer. That's very nice. No, it doesn't seem to be. The thing is, everything I use is cloud-based. Like Restream is cloud-based. Everything is cloud-based. So there's really no reason why being on this, my computer is really an afterthought here. The only other thing I can think of would be settings in Streamlabs OBS. But again, I don't see that there's really any possible issue there. But okay, it is what it is. We are live, and I think that's a great start. Captain Crunch says, we are back. Thanks, David. Yes, we are back, and CNBC stream isn't working. Yeah, maybe there's a bigger picture here. Maybe there's a bigger picture, but we're going to grind it out. I do appreciate everybody over on Twitch who is gleefully saying that Twitch is working completely and totally fine, and that's true. Ms. Paint Physics, or MS Paint Physics, has signed up with Twitch Prime. Grok23, Boy Meets Mini signed up. Who else? Bit101 and Pink and Blonde, all of these people over on Twitch. Why is it that Twitch is working audio only through Facebook? Now that doesn't make sense. How could that possibly be audio only through Facebook? Let me check my own Facebook stream and see what's going on there. That's not even a configuration possibility. Let's see what we've got. Facebook. Can you imagine audio only somehow? I guess we would be under posts. Live. No, everything's fine. Facebook is working fine. There's video and audio happening on Facebook. So that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Thanks to Maria Bohm, who says, when is the Deepak versus Stephen Kenneth Destiny Bonnell II practice match happening? Nothing's scheduled yet. Nothing scheduled yet, but I may soon have things to announce. Let's see. Streaming software issue. Stream keys. Yeah, I just don't think that this is the I don't think this is the issue. I think we've got something more systemic going on, my friends. Crimson Elric has subscribed with Prime and says, "Hey, David, keep it up. Fellow Bostonian Chris Evans, a.k.a. Captain America, was on Bill Maher and has started a political engagement website. We need to get you on real time. Cheers. I would be glad to appear anytime." Tonk Trucks says, "David, you need more emotes. We have enabled BTTV emotes, and I am taking requests for ones that you believe should be added. You can email me through my website and tell me which BTTV emotes would you like to see added, and I will gladly oblige. I will gladly do it for you." Okay, let's see what else we've got. Oh, there are people signing up who I want to thank. Carrie Lyle is new member number 1 today at joinpacman.com. Eric Floden is new member number 2. Whoa, we're not 122, number 2. All right, we're getting everything set up. Everything's okay. And then Mary Huynh is new member number 3 today at joinpacman.com. So glad to see that that is working. People wanting to check out the latest on Social Blade. Okay, yeah, we can do that. Let me pull that up. There was a big weekend of drama between me and Sam Cedar. Now, as many as of you know, Sam sunk to a new low and went and hosted MSNBC in order to try to get to 1 million subscribers before I do. So let's see how we're doing. We're still kicked up at, whoa, hold on a second. As you can see here, we've got this beautiful little spike that's going on. And now we are at 929 on the David Pakman Show side and 916 on the Samuel Cedar side. So we are currently at plus 13. And of course, if you've missed all of this drama, you're probably better off. But what's going on is we are both in a simultaneous race to 1 million YouTube subscribers. And my goal also, oh, by the way, the other thing I should mention is my goal is to get there by Election Day. Let me see where where are projections? Let's see. Here we go. People wondering why it says midweek politics. That used to be the name of the show, and we just weren't able to change the YouTube channel. Subscriber milestone. Let's see where we are here. Oh, hold on. We've got to actually... Let me see if I can fix up this shot for you guys a little bit. You can't even see. I apologize. We're still getting things set up. There we go. So we are now expected to hit 1 million on November 30th. We have moved up. The expected 1 million date from January 9th into December, now into November 30th, which is unbelievable. So now we're only 27 days from the November 3rd date. That's fantastic. That's very exciting. And let's not spend any more time on that right now, because we are standing by here, as you can see, for a White House press briefing. We're going to mute out some of these other feeds. Let's see if we have audio. We do have audio. Beautiful. Okay, so things are going very, very well there. All right, good. Okay. I have a bunch of different video clips and things for you to play for you after. I was hoping to play for them before, play for those for you before. Now, the other issue is that we may be having a little bit of stream lag. It may be that my connection here simply cannot keep up with the settings that I've chosen, and I may have to deal with that. I can't change that live, so I'll have to look at that tomorrow probably. I apologize. I'm on a different internet connection today. I'm in a different place. There's a lot of different things going on, so I'm going to do the best that I can to have a solid stream today. Super chats are flying in. Classy Andy says, I read an article from Irish American journalists who say that Irish Americans are way more conservative and Trump supporters than their spiritual homeland. What I can tell you is very anecdotally that in Boston, Irish Bostonians probably on balance are a little more conservative. Yeah. Skitoshi Nakayobro says, Yo, Havid, I don't know what the heck just happened, but I'm glad you got things fixed. Gabe Oytoucher says, on Biographics World, your net worth is listed at $5 million. Oh my God. Is this why you constantly offer deep membership discounts? You can live comfortably off of interest while operating your business at a loss. That's exactly right, Gabe. That's exactly right. I have so much money that I can offer what in some states would be illegal membership discounts. And case in point, I'll offer one right now. Membership on my website is the #1 source of funding. That coupon code right up there, 2020 now, will save you 66% off of a membership. As Kayleigh is here, I will thank everybody afterwards.
Hello, everyone. Democrats in Congress failed to act in the best interest of Americans hardest hit by this pandemic. Amid inaction, President Trump stood up for every American who, through no fault of their own, needed relief. Politics, as usual, should find no place during this pandemic, but Democrats rejected multiple clean bills to provide relief.
Clean.
The American people are tired of games, they seek leadership, and President Trump delivered. This weekend, President Trump took executive action designed to provide the relief Democrats have denied to those who need it most. Through 4 executive orders, he took the following steps. On the payroll tax, he deferred payments of the employee portion of certain payroll taxes from September 1st through the end of 2020. On unemployment assistance, states will provide 25% cost sharing, amounting to a total of $400 per week in benefits through the end of the year.
Okay.
And then third, he extended the eviction protections. President Trump will direct HUD to prevent evictions resulting from financial hardships caused by the virus, doing everything in his executive capacity to make sure those renting and those homeowners are protected. Finally, on student loans, he extended 0% interest and suspended loan payments through the end of the year. The bottom line is that these actions will help Americans. President Trump is for the American people, and Democrats failed to deliver. Also, earlier this year, hundreds of Americans, working men and women at the Tennessee Valley Authority, the TVA, were told that they would lose their jobs to lower paid foreign workers imported from abroad, and then suffer the further indignity of training their foreign replacements. President Trump boldly and resolutely intervened in defense of these hardworking Americans, rallying to their case, rushing to their aid, and taking action to restore their jobs. He invited laid-off workers and their representatives to the White House, and then he fired the chairman of the board of the TVA and one other board member. President Trump offered an ultimatum. The firings would continue until the cruel and heartless decision to fire the hard-working...
The beatings will continue until morale improves, right?
...reverse. Layoffs have been canceled and tech workers have been rehired. In the words of Gay Henson, president of the Engineering Associates IFPTE Local 1937, the labor union representing the 2,200 highly skilled professionals employed by the TVA, in Ms. Henson's words, the president's personal intervention saved these jobs, restored the workers to their rightful place, and set TVA on the path to returning to its mission of service to both the workers at the TVA and to the people of this country. And with that, I'll take questions.
Here we go.
Yes. Kayleigh, thank you. Starting right there with the president's actions over the weekend, how quickly can Americans expect to see that extra $400?
Oh, she can't get ahead of the president on that.
So we hope to see it quickly and close to immediately. I don't have an exact readout for you on time, but a lot of this will depend on states and them applying, because as you know, it's 75% federal government covering and 25% the states, and they can use CARES funding or even existing unemployment funds for that $100, but it will require an application process.
And given that part of it is up to the states and the application process, is it possible that there will be a delay and that some individuals won't see this relief at all?
We will be working around the clock to make sure there's not a delay, but any delay that does exist, it's important to note where that delay and the responsibility rests.
It won't be
with
Trump's
Nancy
fault.
Pelosi and Chuck Schumer.
Right.
They were offered a clean extension, not of $400 of unemployment benefits.
Trump's responsible for getting people money. Any delays are everybody else's fault.
Stood up for the American worker at a time when Democrats refused to do so.
And just to be very clear, you're saying that you're going to work around the clock. You want it to get to Americans quickly. Are we talking weeks? Are we talking a month? Can you pinpoint the timeline?
I can't pinpoint a timeline other than we'll be working around the clock, and we encourage Democrats on the Hill to come back. Secretary Mnuchin has said he's willing to review any proposal because the American people deserve better than the games and the partisanship they've seen from Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and their Democrat colleagues. Ben.
Thanks, Kayleigh. Two questions. Just to follow up on what Kristen was asking, is there a mechanism by which the federal government can provide the $300 immediately, even if states don't provide the $100?
Good
Well,
question.
it's important and in fact required by statute that 25% of that money be provided by states, and the 75% is what we can do from the federal government side. I would note states can look to CARES Act funding as a way to bring that $100 forward. They can also look to the general fund, but we will be pursuing every creative way possible to make sure that the preeminent priority prevails, and that is making sure that this money gets to America's workers.
And then the orders that the president signed, that doesn't address funding for small businesses or for schools or stimulus checks. Does he
Schools
still
will be
want
open, right? So they
legislation
don't
to
need
address
funding.
all of those things? And is he willing to negotiate with Democrats?
He absolutely would love to see both of those things. School funding is very important, and he's been for second round of direct payments. So we encourage Democrats to really negotiate with us in good faith. So far, they have not done so. In fact, moving further away from us rather than towards us. Negotiations work by coming towards one another, and it's incumbent upon Democrats to do that.
They say they've come down from $3 trillion to $2 trillion. Is the White House willing to go up from one to something else?
They've still put in several non-starters. They've never put forward a serious proposal. And the notion, before they claimed to have come down, they actually went up, and then they wanted $100 billion in school funding. We said, okay, we'll give you more than you asked for, $105 billion, to which was no longer acceptable. So they've been fundamentally unserious with each and every one of their offers in this negotiation.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. A number of Democrats, but also Republican Senator Ben Sasse, have suggested these executive actions are unconstitutional. Can you walk us through what the White House is using?
It's not just unconstitutional. Trump said he's not going to need executive orders because he's going to get things done the right way. Remember that, guys?
First, I would note that what we are doing is entirely within the executive capacity of the president. On student loans, Section 2A, 2 subsection A of the Higher Education Relief Opportunities for Student Acts of 2003, which is 20 USC 1098BB, authorizes the Secretary to waive or modify provisions of student financial assistance programs to ensure that individuals who have been affected by the national emergency are not worse off financially. There's another statute for that one, Section 432 of the Higher Education Act of 1960.
I think it's subsection 888, actually, from my recollection.
Employment, the Stafford Act, 42 USC 5174 says the president, after a state applies for it, can provide assistance to people who have been adversely affected by a major disaster. These are often known as other needs assistance, or ONA. On payroll tax authority, 26 USC 7508A plainly authorizes the Treasury Secretary to provide any taxpayer that has been affected by a federally declared disaster with an extension of up to a year. This was used before when the Secretary extended the individual filing deadline for 2019 taxes from April to July. And finally, for evictions, the authority would be suggesting that HHS and HUD consider whatever legal authorities they have to protect Americans. And also, the president merely instructed in that EO that we should do everything within the lawful capacity of the executive branch to protect Americans from evictions.
Yes, Kayleigh, on China, is the administration planning to respond to the new sanctions that China announced this morning on several lawmakers and other people in the United States?
So I won't get ahead of the president on any actions, but we are certainly aware of the announced sanctions. And instead of taking meaningful actions, such as immediately repealing the national security law and stopping the systematic repression of Uyghurs, the Chinese Communist Party opted to respond with this symbolic and ineffectual action. And a growing number of nations around the globe are...
How did our government become so idiotic? Like, even the communication between this administration and the press is just a joke, meaningless drivel.
Continue to do so.
Is there any discussion, Kayleigh, of delisting Chinese companies on the U.S. Stock Exchange?
Again, I won't get ahead of the president on any official announcements. Yes.
Thank you. The president said over the weekend that he had heard from Democrats about wanting to restart these negotiations. Who exactly did he hear from? And then also his tweet this morning regarding, he said that he had his, he said that Leader Schumer and Speaker Pelosi had his number in regarding negotiations. Does that mean he is going to play a larger role in this process going forward, or is it still going to be Secretary Mnuchin and the Chief of Staff?
Well, they speak on the president's behalf. He's been actively engaged in the negotiations and working closely with Secretary Mnuchin and the Chief of Staff. Democrats should come to the table. Their immediate statement in the aftermath of the president issuing these EOs says that they would like to meet halfway, but those are empty words from Democrats that they'd like to meet halfway, because so far they've just gone in the other direction.
So did anybody reach out to him?
I'm not going to go through the president's call logs.
Yeah, because
you
nobody
guys
did.
can ask him
Yeah,
later
it was
today
a
if
lie.
you'd like. He'll have a press briefing at about 5:30. Jeff.
Thank you, Kayleigh. Secretary Pompeo has raised the issue of Russian bounties on U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan with his counterpart. Does that mean that the administration now considers the intelligence on this secure or clear? And if so, does the president plan to raise it with President Putin?
Yeah, so on the part about Secretary Pompeo, I'd refer you to the State Department. That was a New York Times story. So in terms of his personal conversations, I would refer you there. But on the part of the president, this was unverified, not conclusory as the New York Times initially reported. The president will always act in the interests of our troops and look no further than the killing of Soleimani and al-Baghdadi, which brought vindication to hundreds of U.S. servicemen and women who lost their lives overseas.
Just to be clear, does that mean that that Pompeo did not raise this? Does that mean that
I would refer you to the State Department.
But are the two sides seeing seeing the intelligence as different here and the State Department?
Again, you're asking me to verify reporting. That would be in the realm of the State Department. But rest assured, this president will always act in the best interests of our troops.
Yeah, rest assured.
Thanks, Kayleigh. Back on the executive orders the president signed this weekend, as a candidate, Donald Trump criticized fairly sharply Barack Obama's use of executive orders and faulting him for failing to reach deals with members of Congress. How were the president's actions this weekend any different from President Obama?
Because it's Trump and not Obama.
Different when you consider the fact that President Barack Obama utilized executive order to push forward a policy that he denied he had the right to push forward 23 times on DAPA and on DACA. He said at least 23 times, I don't have the power to do this. And then he went on to do just that. I've already listed out and enumerated the various legal authorities on the part of the president. And in terms of deal making, I would note that the CARES Act was landmark legislation, at really the height of this pandemic.
Right. Obamacare wasn't landmark. I mean, come on, guys.
1 week from first drafting to enactment. And by comparison, if we want to go back to President Obama, the American Recovery Act during the Great Recession took roughly 3 months from inception to enactment as law under single party control. This president managed to push the CARES Act through divided government, a very big accomplishment on the part of the president.
Because it's an acute emergency and no one in their right mind would say we don't need to do anything.
New drugs in the United States is apparently on hold now amid allegations of insider trading. Is the president concerned that his infrastructure here is being misused?
No.
That the Defense Production Act funds are potentially being
not at all
misused? Would he pull the plug on the Kodak deal? And what does it say about the safeguards that you have in place that this potentially could have
everything's fine,
resulted in
guys.
insider trading?
So first, the president will always act in the best interest of the American people.
Right.
As you noted, as soon as we became aware of these allegations, the International Development Finance Corporation said that the recent allegations of wrongdoing raise serious concerns. We will not proceed any further unless these allegations are cleared. The president has strong faith in the process here. We've used the DPA more than 30 times to increase production.
One phrase to listen for with Kayleigh is, I would also note that. Anytime she goes, I would also note that, it's like a distraction gaslighting trigger word.
The number of ventilators on hand at 69,000, and we'll have more than 10,000 more by the fall. So this president has used the DPA effectively, but we're certainly aware of the Kodak allegations and take them seriously.
Would he pull the plug on that deal?
I'll leave that to the president, but he takes these very seriously. We won't speculate as to what that investigation finds.
Thank you. Two questions for me. The president just tweeted that Gettysburg would be one of the two sites he's looking at. What can you characterize the message that he'd want to be sending with that choice, if it was that choice?
Yeah, I won't get ahead of the president as to what his convention speech will look like, but the president has done a lot to bring this
Oh, I didn't know that. Pausing, by the way, some people, I didn't know that Trump, I checked out of the weekend that Trump was no longer looking at the White House lawn. That's interesting.
country together. We've faced unprecedented challenges, and he's worked to make sure that the American people are best equipped and taken care of to rise above the challenges that we face. And he has a strong record of achievement that he'll be touting on that day.
Sorry, the other question, if you don't mind. Is there a message to the protesters in Belarus? Is the president looking at that?
Trump has no idea where that country even is.
Yes, so we are looking at that, and we're deeply concerned by...
We're looking very, very closely at having Donald Trump taught where on the map Belarus is, and then once we get to that, he may have a statement in a few weeks.
Belarus presidential election, severe restrictions on ballot access for candidates, prohibition of local independent observers at polling stations, intimidation of opposition candidates, and the detention of peaceful protesters and journalists have marred the process, and we urge the Belarusian government to respect the right of to peaceably assemble and to refrain from use of force. Yes.
Thanks, Kayleigh. Is the president willing to provide some aid for states and local governments, given that the administration is asking states to pay for a quarter of the National Guard assistance and now a quarter of the unemployment benefits?
Yeah, the president's always been clear here that, he wants to support state and local governments, but only for COVID-related matters, and he doesn't want to bail out blue states that had structural problems long before this. So that's where his priorities lie. Yes.
Hi, two questions, one from somebody who can't be here today. But first of all, the president also just tweeted, student athletes have been working too hard for their season to be cancelled. So does he disagree with colleges cancelling sports, and how would he guarantee their safety?
A lot of loose strings on this guy's mask, right?
If games did go ahead.
Yes, I spoke to the president in the Oval Office about that just before walking out here, and he is very much would like to see college football safely resume their sport. And as he mentioned in that tweet, a lot of these college athletes, work their whole lives to get, 4 years. Sometimes if they're redshirted an extra year, if they're lucky, they work their whole lives for this moment, and he'd like to see them have a chance to live out their dreams.
And a question from Anthony Leake of the Chronicle Fashion Guide. Do you have any reaction to the resignation of the Prime Minister and Cabinet in Lebanon?
Yeah, the president's aware of the situation, but that was just breaking as I came out, so I have nothing to add to
No
that.
comment.
Other than our heart is with the people and those who lost their lives. Christian.
Thanks, Kayleigh. Two on the orders. Is the administration at all concerned that funding the federal government's cost share through FEMA could leave the government underfunded for hurricane season?
No. No.
And then secondly, on the housing provisions.
Are we expecting, this president has shown himself to be committed to fully respond to every hurricane like that one in Puerto Rico?
I'm just curious, why didn't the president extend the eviction moratorium as it was outlined in CARES? Is that because it was deemed unconstitutional?
So on evictions, I would note that the president took 4 strong actions here. And again, the eviction moratorium there was a temporary moratorium put in place by the CARES Act. So the president did what he can within his executive capacity, and it was 4-part, taking all lawful measures to prevent residential evictions. Number 2, instructing HHS and CDC to take measures to temporarily prohibit residential evictions. On HUD, prioritizing federal fundings that can be used as financial assistance to struggling renters and homeowners, and also HUD working with its grantees and partners to ensure that homeowners are not forced out. And with regard to HHS, as they explore their executive authority here, 42 U.S.C. 264A authorizes the Surgeon General in consultation with the Secretary to make and enforce such regulations as is in his judgment that are necessary to prevent the introduction, transmission, or spread of communicable diseases. So it will be within HHS's purview to determine whether COVID meets those standards, and it could go a long way in helping Americans who face eviction. And your second question...
It was about FEMA. Is there a concern that, pulling from the disaster funds could leave them underprepared for the rest
No.
Really the worst part of hurricane
It's going to be fine.
Yeah, so there is that snapback provision that if FEMA does get below a certain level, that money will snap back. So that is certainly a concern, and we'll make sure that 2 things happen, that Americans get paid, but also that there's enough funding there to safely go through hurricane season. Yes,
Thank you very much. 2 questions. What would you like the White House would like to see happening in Lebanon right now, next? And this weekend, the U.S. reached 5 million coronavirus cases and Brazil 100,000 deaths, as healthcare experts compares the response from both governments. What went wrong here and there?
So first with Lebanon, that was your first question. You know, we're monitoring the situation closely. As I've said, our heart goes out to the men and women who lost their lives. It's an absolute tragedy. And the president participated in a virtual conference with international leaders to work closely in our international response effort. We are delivering aid to the region, and our deepest condolences go out to the victims. With regard to the U.S. response to the coronavirus, we've done more testing than any country in the world.
Nothing went wrong here. This has been the best response, guys. Come on.
And we do identify more cases. We do have, after all, the most
too much
as
testing.
the president has noted.
So many tests.
When you look at the U.S. response, the therapeutics, at the beginning of this, there was no coronavirus test. It was a novel virus, but we...
Right, but so that's important. They keep saying the U.S. was in the situation where this was a new virus to the U.S. No, we didn't have a test. This was a new virus everywhere. Nobody had a test, and yet other countries still figured it out.
Immediately worked to get more than 100 emergency use authorizations to identify various types of testing on therapeutics. There was no therapeutic that we knew to work with COVID. It was a novel virus.
This was the case everywhere.
The president worked, and there are more than 200.
That's the case everywhere, and our deaths per capita are 9th highest.
10 clinical trials on therapeutics, and we have dexamethasone and convalescent plasma, remdesivir, and others. And the vaccine to be on pace to be completed by the end of the year. When Ebola, it took 4 years to go to completion. This president
remember, this is a different type of vaccine, but more importantly, it has nothing to do with Trump.
Securing a vaccine at the fastest rate ever for a novel pathogen. So this president has a really historic coronavirus relief response that we're happy to talk about.
Comparisons between Brazil and the U.S.?
Thank you, Kayleigh. So going back to his question on HHS and the executive order, is there no real solution then for people who may be facing eviction by the end of this month or early September?
Well, there is a solution. I've mentioned the 4 things that we've done and will continue to do.
Read those again,
Kayleigh,
please.
The real solution, the holistic solution, rests with Congress and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer coming to the table. This president instructed his administration to find every single way possible that without congressional Democrats who have been unrelenting and lacking in any sort of care or empathy for the American people, at least when it comes to their negotiating tactics, if they're not going to act and care for the American people, he would. So he instructed this administration to pursue every
Right. When I see Trump, I see caring for people he doesn't know. Yeah.
legal avenue available to us without Chuck and Nancy, and he's done just that.
Chuck and
Nancy.
Uh-oh.
Thanks, Kayleigh.
Is this the last question before a scripted walk-off?
With the president bypassing Democrats stalling with the stimulus bill, as we've been discussing in this room, how pressing is it to actually have a next phase bill? Because it seems that the executive order and the 3 memoranda that he just signed really was kind of a wish list of items he wanted to pass. So how motivated is the White House to push for a next phase stimulus bill in spite of what Mnuchin said?
Can you think of a dumber question? Like, she doesn't even understand her question.
Yeah, the White House is still motivated. You know, the president would love to see the direct payments to Americans. The president would love to see the school funding. There are several items that we'd like to see happen. The more relief for the American people and those in need in particular, the better. But this president, you know, has taken action to alleviate some of that burden. But make no mistake, there's still much more that we'd like to accomplish. But that includes having willing negotiating partners in Congress. And so far, we have none in the Democrat Party, it seems. And then finally, one thing I want to leave you guys with is that 18 days ago,
it was the last
Mayor
one.
Ted Wheeler tweeted, "What I saw last night."
So this is the unrelated to anything anybody asked about, scripted walk-off.
In Portland was powerful in many ways. I listened, heard, and stood with protesters, and I saw what it means when the federal government unleashes paramilitary forces against its own people. He, in fact, called our federal agents paramilitary forces. And around this same time, our federal officers were facing rioters, barricading officers inside the courthouse, trapping officers inside, launching of commercial-grade fireworks. A federal agent's hand was impaled by planted nails. 3 officers were were at least temporarily, I should say, blinded when a laser was put in their eyes. This has been an ongoing tactic by the rioters. That was 18 days ago.
I would like to see when this happens, the reporters get up and leave, but that's more disrespectful to to the office rather than to Kayleigh, and I don't think they would ever do it.
Mayor Wheeler stood with the rioters and against the, quote, paramilitary forces. But just 4 days ago, it appears Mayor Wheeler had a change of heart as local officers took over the situation in Portland. And he now, I guess this is what he believes now, quote, when you commit arson with an accelerant in an attempt to burn down a building that is occupied by people who you have intentionally trapped inside, you are not demonstrating, you are attempting to commit murder. He could not be more right about that. It is a drastic change. It took him 73 days, I suppose, to come up with that realization. And what we're seeing in Portland with 6 nights in a row, riots being declared. On Wednesday, you had some of these rioters shining lasers in officers' eyes, disable security cameras, broke windows, used boards to barricade the doors, and start a fire with 20 sworn officers and civilian employees inside. This is unacceptable, and it is encouraging to see that the liberal mayor of Portland finally seems to realize that. Thank you, everyone.
What an idiotic press briefing. I mean, what a completely idiotic press briefing. Can you, I mean, it's unconscionably dumb. If you are heading out, please do make sure that you hit the subscribe button on YouTube. We're in a race to 1 million. And if just a couple hundred of you hit that subscribe button, we will instantly get to 930,000. So if you're done, I do have other things to talk about and I'm going to play them for you. If you are heading out, please hit that subscribe button on YouTube, looking to get to 1 million. And make sure to follow on Twitch, where we are targeting 50,000 followers. I did want to play for you. Oh, a couple things I wanted to show you. Number one, I tweeted earlier. This is a beautiful tweet, arguably my most liked tweet ever. Isn't it weird how a coronavirus death rate of 1% is plenty low to open everything, but meanwhile voter fraud incidence of 0.01 means end vote by mail? And a lot of powerful people retweeting this, including Hugh Laurie, Dr. Gregory House, who I grew up watching. Very, very powerful tweet. I'm half kidding, but anyway, check that out if that's interesting to you. What I did want to play for you is over the weekend, Trump had press briefings at his Bedminster Golf Club, and he did something crazy. Hold on, let me get this set up. Oh, there's an ad. Oh my God, what is this? Over the weekend, Trump did these Bedminster Golf Club press briefings, and he actually lined them up with his supporters. So like the supporters would boo the media and would cheer Trump during a press briefing. But listen to what Trump said here. This is interesting.
So over the next 2 weeks, I'll be pursuing a major executive order requiring health insurance companies to cover all pre-existing conditions.
Wait a second. You need an executive order for that? Obamacare already does that. That's weird.
For all customers. That's a big thing. I've always been very strongly in favor. We have to cover pre-existing conditions. So we will be pursuing a major executive order.
Wait a second. Breaking news. 10 years ago, Obamacare did. Whoa, hold on a second. How am I so low in the shot all of a sudden? That's really weird. Let me adjust that if you guys don't mind. There we go. I'm still working out the kinks of this other streaming setup. There we go. That's better. My head was cut off. Yeah, this is the law. And this is actually a strategy. Donald Trump now for a while has been trying to take credit for Veterans Choice. I don't know if you guys know about Veterans Choice. That's an Obama era policy from 2014. And he's just throwing anything he can at the wall to see what sticks, quite frankly. Let me say thank you to Derek Pippin. Derek is new member number 4 today at joinpacman.com. Amber Ortego is new member number 5. Manuel Mendez is new member number 6. Kirsty Landek is new member number 7. Chilith Yi Wins, is new member number 8. I hope I got that correct. Also want to say thank you to Ruud Van Wingarden, who is new member number 9. And Carrie Lyle, I was already able to thank. So here's the deal. I'm in a different streaming setup for the rest of the week. I hope to be back for the 5:30 Trump press briefing. I actually do need some help from somebody who knows about this stuff. So here's the issue I'm having. I'm using Restream to stream to multiple platforms. For whatever reason, in YouTube, when I try to look at the settings for this stream, it takes me to a private stream called David Pakman Show live stream rather than this actual stream. The title is, Kayleigh, McEnany, whatever. So I'm going to email my YouTube rep and see if he can get me some help with this. But I need to, if anybody can help me figure this out, I would very much appreciate it. I'll plan to be back with you guys in just a few hours.